Welcome back to this wonderful show. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Cameron.
We are happy to have you once again back with us to talk about one of just such a great chapter in the Book of Mormon and talk about King Benjamin. Manny, what do you think? Cameron?
King Benjamin is awesome. I love this chapter because, I don't know, it just reminds me of the feelings I get when General Conference is approaching. And I feel like they had some of the same things. They're all gathering their families to come listen to the prophet of God.
I think that this is awesome. This is after, so last week we talked about Nephi, and it was one of the last teachings and one of the last writings that Nephi did. And then he passed his writings on to Jacob, and then afterwards it just was all passed down until we get to King Benjamin in the land of Zarahemla. And this is also where Mosiah becomes king afterwards as well. And so this is King Benjamin's last talk to his people, to the people of Zarahemla. And it's so awesome. It talks about how we need service in our life, you know? And so let's talk about that. So King Benjamin, he starts off by talking about how it's important for us to serve. He talks about how he has been an example as a king. Sometimes people read this and think, oh, King Benjamin kind of looks like he's bragging a little bit, but he's not. He wants his people to see how much service is important and why they need to serve.
One thing I feel that he's trying to explain as he says, look, I've served, I've been in your service. I think that's one way that he's trying to get us to see it doesn't matter what position we're in. Sometimes we have the thoughts, oh, he's like a king, or he's a higher up authority. He has other things on his mind. He won't need to serve. But King Benjamin was saying, no, even your kings, we all are equal, and we all should serve each other equally.
And I love the verse. We'll read it for you. It's verse 17 in Mosiah chapter 2. It says, "And behold, I tell you these things that you may learn wisdom, that you may learn that when you are in the service of your fellow beings, you are only in the service of your God. Behold, ye have called me your king, and if I, whom you call your king, do labor to serve you, then ought ye not to labor to serve one another." And so, just as Cameron just mentioned, he talks about how when we're serving other people, we're also serving God at the same time. And he said, if me being your king is serving you, then you need to serve one another as well. And we all need to serve each other. It's super cool. I love how he talks about that and how we need to serve all those people around us.
I love his words right after that, where he kind of gives the paradox of the blessings of God. He says, in the first place, God's given us everything, right? And all he asks is that we keep his commandments. And when if we try our hardest, put our whole soul into giving back to God, he just immediately blesses us. So we'll always be in debt to God.
It's awesome. I think King Benjamin has a great outlook on what we need to focus on. And he also talks about later in the chapter, making sure that we obey the Lord's Spirit instead of the evil spirit. He kind of talks about this, and he gives a warning to his people. He says in verses 32 and 33, he talks about, "But, O my people, beware lest there shall arise contentions among you, and you list to obey the evil spirit." And he says, "For woe pronounced upon him who listeth to obey that spirit. For if he listeth to obey him, and remaineth and dieth in his sins, the same drinketh damnation to his own soul." It's pretty intense. I would be scared if somebody said that to me, and I'm like, wow, I should probably obey the Lord's Spirit and not have damnation come upon my soul or anything like that. But it's cool because in the end, he gives one of the most famous scriptures among most of us that we know today, verse 41, where he talks about the commandments. Cameron, would you like to talk about that?
I just want to read the first part. He said, "I would desire that you should consider on the blessed and happy state of those that keep the commandments of God." Andrew earlier talked about how King Benjamin, this is his last speech. This is one of the things he wanted them to know. And he's also old. He's about to die, so he has had lots of experience in seeing his life, his other people's lives. And I have faith that he knew better than many people the happy state that we're in when we keep God's commandments.
I love when he talks about that and the blessings that come and how happy we are from keeping the commandments. So we want to invite you to look over this chapter and ponder and pray about how you can keep the commandments, how you can be happy and always serve God and listen to the good Spirit. Because once we do that, we'll be able to have a blessed life. We'll be able to bless the lives of others and just have happiness in our overall life. And tune in for next week when we're going to talk about Abinadi and King Noah. And these chapters range from Mosiah 13 to Mosiah 16 or 17, 15 up. Those 3 chapters, we're going to talk about the importance of Abinadi and his experience and his mission. So thank you so much for tuning in today. We are grateful, and we'll see you next week, Zarahemla.